Thank you, Precious. Good evening, everyone. As previously advertised to you or shared, today I'm going to be sharing with you the basics of Git and GitHub, and also how to start contributing to open source. So allow me to share my screen.
Yes, you can share your screen.
All
I think you
right,
can share your screen, yeah.
okay, let me share that, and I think I'd like to share the entire screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen. Can go on.
Okay, okay. Um, so before that, just a brief introduction about myself. I do full stack development. Currently, I use Next.js to handle both my front and back end. And I also I'm also actually a student in an online school called Microverse. Some of you might have heard it, some of you might not have. So it's an online coding school um, with students all around the world. So Git
Martin,
and Git.
Sorry, Martin, I don't think I believe I see your screen.
Oh, I think I've stopped sharing. I just paused for a moment. Let me reshare. I was just giving a brief introduction. All right.
Oh, okay. Sorry, never mind. Okay, just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and so the main reason I'm trying to tell you that Git and GitHub is part of my daily life because I study online. So, and I collaborate with developers from everywhere. So, what I'm going to share with you is something that is part of my daily life. And if you are going to grow as a remote developer, or if you want to work remotely and work with companies that are not based in your country, having GitHub, knowing how to use Git and GitHub is one of those skills that you're going to need. So let me share my screen, and so I think, can you see my screen now? All right. So today we're going to share about version control with Git and GitHub. Okay. And so this is what we're going to be talking about today. Number one, what is version control? We're going to talk about installing Git, setting up the configuration, creating a new repository, basic Git workflow, making changes and committing, branching and merging, collaborating with GitHub, making pull requests, and we'll talk about additional resources. Okay. So what is version control? Version control is a system that allows you to manage changes of your project's code base over time. So let's say you have a project and you've worked on it today, and then you want to make changes tomorrow. Sometimes, to give a simple explanation, I'll talk about a document. Okay, you're working on a document, and then you have a draft, you have a final draft, an edited draft. So when you're working with documents, GitHub eliminates all that. So when you're working with your code, you don't have to make 100 copies of the same project just because you want to separate the changes, just because you want to separate, to create differences. So version control eliminates that. It allows you to seamlessly manage changes in your project's code base over time. Okay, it also enables you to keep track of modifications because you know what changed when and who changed what. Okay, and you'd also be able to switch between different versions and collaborate effectively with other developers. So yeah, basically that's it. And what is so let's talk about version control with Git. Okay. Someone was saying something. All right, let's go. So what is Git? By the way, don't have to worry. I'm going to show you the practical part in just a moment. So at this point, we are going through an introduction, okay? So Git is a distributed version control system, okay, that allows you to track changes in your code. So as we shared, that version control is being able to manage changes in your system. So Git is a tool that helps you to do version control, okay? Maybe version control seems to be a more maybe a complex word, not really complex, but can I say, to give it an example, you've heard of maybe, okay, maybe an application has version 1.0.1, version 2.0.1. Those are the versions we are talking about. Actually, that's the version we are talking about. So, so as we say, GitHub, it is a distributed version control system. Now, what do we mean by a distributed version control system? It allows each and every person to have a full copy of the code, okay? His own local copy, and he can always update it. So previously, not to take you in the history, but the tool that Git replaced, it was not distributed, okay? Normally, the main code was in one place and each one had to push their changes. But Git and GitHub allows each and every contributor on a code base to have a whole complete version of the code and be able to edit it. So since we are going through the basics, that is all I'll say about that for now. Hopefully I'm not moving very fast. So what is GitHub? So GitHub is a popular web-based platform that hosts Git repositories. So there's a lot of new words here, but don't worry, I'll explain them. For example, repositories, don't worry about that. We'll talk about that in just a moment. So Git is a tool that helps you manage, and then GitHub hosts whatever. So GitHub becomes like the online platform where you host, where you keep all these files, okay? Don't worry, you are going to look at this practically in just a moment, okay? So why learn Git and GitHub? Number one, version control, we've talked about that. Number two, collaboration. If you want to work with someone that is distant, someone may be even close, but then closer to you in distance, but there is a way Git and GitHub help, there's a way these tools help you handle collaboration. And number three is code reviews. You might have written your project and you want me to review your code. This tool helps you do that in a very nice way. It has tools that have been laid up for you to do code reviews in a seamless way. And number four, open source contribution, okay? Helps you to contribute to open source. We'll talk about that in details later. Number five, remote work. If you want to work for a company that is not where you stay, or you want to work from home, you need to learn Git and GitHub. Number six, portfolio management. Excuse me. So if you want to manage your projects, okay, like right now, the projects that I build right now are on GitHub, and I manage them with Git. Continuous integration and continuous deployment. So there are websites, or I'll give an example, maybe Netlify. Oh, you may not have heard of these websites, but there are websites that integrate with GitHub, and they enable you to do deployment without having to, because, okay, let me give you an example. In basic company, let's say if you want to host with a company like Hostinger and you want to deploy your project, you will have to, you build it locally, and then you copy that build folder and you put it, go to the file manager, blah, 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 hassle with the settings and all that. So there are some websites that GitHub integrates with. You just connect your repository, and anytime you make a change to your code, send it to GitHub. Those changes are reflected on your live website or live project. Okay, so that is continuous integration and continuous development. So it removes all the hassle. So your code is connected to your hosting company, just make changes and changes happen. So documentation and issue tracking, it helps you document properly your project and track issues.
Hello?
So
I'm sorry, can you? I'm not really hearing you. Can you increase your volume?
oh, my volume is low. Let me try increasing the volume of my mic. Okay, where is my volume? Okay, so can you hear me now? Hello.
No, it's still low. I don't know. Sorry.
Okay.
We hear you
Not
fine.
good.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Uh,
Yeah.
We can hear you. Can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. That's great. Maybe the issue is on your end, and try to check the volume of your machine. Maybe the microphone or maybe the speakers or something. I hope it gets fixed. So number 8, so these are all the benefits of learning how to use Git and GitHub. A very
Oh yeah,
simple
I can
tool.
hear you now. Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to say I can hear you now.
All right, that's great. It helps you to do documentation and issue tracking. So we'll talk a little bit about documentation and issue tracking. Now, whenever your code is on GitHub, okay, someone can go and check your code. Someone who is maybe who is more experienced, or he has noticed an issue with an app that you've launched and it is live. He is able to come to your if your code is on GitHub, he's able to point out issues. Okay, and then when he points out an issue, you'll go and find it and find a way to fix it. Okay, we'll talk about that later in detail when we get to working with GitHub. So number 9 is learning industry standard tools. So Git and GitHub is an industry standard tool. Okay, if you want to stand out as a developer, learning Git and GitHub will move you a step higher. Okay, and then job market advantage. So if you know your Git, right now when you're applying to any job as a developer, your GitHub profile is one of the things they will ask for. Okay, and also we'll talk about that later in details. And personal project management. As I've already shared, it helps you manage your projects. Like as I speak right now, all my projects go to GitHub. I don't know if I can work on a project and not send it to GitHub, or maybe not manage it with Git. Okay, so these are some of the reasons that why you should learn Git and GitHub. Okay, so the first thing you need to do if you the first thing you need to do, you need to install Git on your system, and the instructions are different for every computer depending on your operating system. If you're using Mac OS, if you're using Windows, if you're using Linux, the instructions will be different. So I've shared this link right here. So please go to that website in your own free time. At this point, I assume you have Git installed, but if you don't have it, feel free. You'll still be able to follow as we learn. And so you need to have Git installed on your machine. Okay, and okay, setting up Git configuration. So here comes the practical part. So to explain this, I have to do this. Okay, just a moment. Can you all see the VS Code that is open on my
Yes, we can see the VS Code.
all right, that's cool. So the first thing you'll need to do is installing it. Now I'm actually using Linux, and I already have Git installed at this point. Okay, so use the link. The instructions to install Git are different for each and every operating system. So go to that website and find the Git installer for your system, or the instructions. Now for Linux, it's easier. For Windows, the longer steps, and for Mac OS it's also different. So okay, just a moment. So we're going to see how we set up Git configuration. Now, after installing Git, open your terminal or command prompt and configure your username and email. Now, why should I configure my username and email? Why should you set up this configuration? Because because the reason why you set up this on your system, you are telling Git that the person that is going to be making these changes is called Martin Karugava, and the email address. So you'll open your terminal. Now I'm using the terminal in VS Code, but you can use anything you want. I also have an external terminal here, but I just chose to use this the terminal within VS Code. So it will be git config. Okay. Okay, let me increase the font size because I know how small these things look on the okay terminal. Okay, is that big enough?
Yes. Oh, maybe you need to. Yeah. Okay, I think this is fine.
All right. So don't worry about these words. Just okay. Global. Okay. User.name .name is equal to Martin Karugava. So here you'll put your name. Now, why do you do that? Because now every time you're going to make a change, okay, I'm going to show you this to you later. Anytime you're going to make a change, Git will let's say map this. Git will always write on that change. This change was made by Martin Karugava, because when it comes to collaboration, you want to know who changed what. So GitHub has something we call a file blame. So it shows who changed what. So your name is always attached to the changes that you make in your file. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. So user.name is that, and then you hit enter, and then it says that. So I'll not do that because my GitHub is already set up. And then you'll do the same for user.email. So you set your email. Now, why do you set your email? This is going to help you during when you're working with GitHub, because as I've explained, Git and GitHub are two different things. So Git allows you to work locally on your machine, and GitHub is what keeps your code online. Okay. So once you're done setting this up, so now GitHub knows that Martin Karugava with this email address is the one that is going to be making these changes. Okay. So after installing, we've gone through this setting up your configuration. It is very important. As you can see, git config global. So what these instructions do, there is a git config file on your system. It comes with your installation of Git. It goes to that file and makes these changes. Okay, it says Martin Karugava. So that is why you see there is those. That's what those instructions mean. Okay. So creating a new Git repository. So once you're done setting up configuring your GitHub, okay, telling it that these changes are going to be made by this person in this email. Now you want to tell Git that this repository I'm working on, okay, let me close the settings, just a moment. Okay, by the way, just before I go far, what is a repository? So basically a repository is a folder, okay? A folder or your complete project. A folder that has your project files is a Git repository. Now, at this point, as I speak, this folder that we are working with, learn Git, is not a Git repository, okay? And if I try to create a file right here, I'll say it index.html, and for example, okay, just a moment. It's not controlled by Git at this point, okay? Git does not know this folder because in your projects or as you work, you will find out that you have very many folders. But when you say git init, okay, this is how we tell Git that Git, please start following the changes in this folder, okay? We say git init. We've talked about that. So initialized, as you can see, it has initialized empty Git repository in that folder, okay? So at this point, we've told Git that, you know what, start following all the changes that I'm working on in this folder. And as you can see, the instruction, something has changed from this, and we have something called main. I'll explain what that means later, okay? And basically that's it for at the beginning. Let's continue. So we started with setting up the configuration, telling Git that Martin will be the one making these changes. I wish I had the file name. I'll just show you in just a moment. Okay, it will come in a moment. Okay, we finished that. We finished telling Git to start following the changes we are making in that folder. So now, making changes and committing those changes. So I'd like you to be very attentive at this point. So once you have your folder, once you have your files, okay, at this point, Git is following these files, but how can I say? It has marked it as untracked. It is following, but it is not tracking these files. You see this U here on this folder? It was not there before, okay? So it says untracked. Now, by the way, if you get confused or anything, feel free to send a question via the chat. I will check and then I'll be able to answer, okay? So let's make changes. Let's make changes to this file index.html. We shall just say h1, and then we say hello Git and GitHub. Git and GitHub. Okay. Okay, that's not an add. So at this point, Git says this is untracked. Okay. So we're going to work with these instructions in just a moment. So how do we tell Git to start following this exact file? Because we've told Git to follow the folder, but at this point it is not following the files. How do we do that? Okay, we say Git, okay, then we say add, and then we add the name of the file, index.html. Okay, we're going to add that in just a moment. Now you see the letter has changed from U. I don't know if I can zoom. I don't know if I can zoom in this point, but okay, it's going to take some time. But as you can see, the letter has changed from U to A. So at this point, index.html has been added to something we call a staging area. Now, what is a staging area? A staging area is a point where you move your files from not being tracked to a point that says, you know what, I'm interested in the changes I've made in these files. Okay, that is a staging. And if I also, let's say if I added another file here that said about.html, Okay, you see about.html is untracked. But if I was interested in the about.html, I would say, let's say about, it is untracked. I would also come and say, you know what? Git, please also add about.html. Okay, about.html. Okay, so when I add about, when I hit enter, about is also added to the staging area. Okay, so we've added the files. Now, what if we had like 100 files? Let's say we had the styles.css. Let's say you're working on, I had someone saying just work with React. Let's say you're working with 100 files. How do you add all of them at the same point? Styles.css, and then you have maybe contact.html. Contact.html. How do I add all this? If I have 1,000 files, how do I add all them at once to the staging area? Is I can say git add, then I say all. I git add and a dot. Okay. So that instruction adds all the files. As you can see, all of them have changed to A, which means they've all been added to the staging area. Okay. And just to reiterate, the staging area is the point where you say, you know what, I'm interested in these changes and I might want to use them in the future. So please keep them somewhere. Okay. Start following these changes in these files. Okay.
Why you always, if you sit down, you hang your leg on his shit ASAP. Budeka.
Sorry, speak orderly or hi Nilanjan, can you mute her? Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So we've talked about that. And then once you add these files to the staging area and you are really interested in these changes, the next instruction I would like you to learn is a git commit instruction. Okay? Is a commit, as you can see right here. Okay? So what does this instruction enable you to do? It enables you to okay, in simple terms, just like to commit to the changes that you've made, just like you'd commit unto a relationship. Okay, you're committing. You're saying, I'm now really interested in these files. Now you're moving them to the next stage. Okay, so the next instruction I would like you to learn is git commit. Now this instruction comes with a message. Okay. Now, why do you need to make a message? It adds perspective. It adds context to the changes that you've just made. Let's say I added a nav bar. I want to say, you know what? At this point, I added a nav bar. So I'll commit. I'll be like git commit, and then I add a message. To add a message, it's a -m. Oh my God, why? Okay, and then I will add my message. I'll open quotation marks. Hopefully I'm not moving very fast. Add navbar. Okay, and at this point now, when I commit, at this point these changes are ready for the next step, which I'll be sharing with you later. But those are the basic instructions I've shared with you at this point. Git add and git commit. Okay, and so if I wanted to make more changes at this point, so if I wanted to make changes from this point, I can still make more changes, okay, and then commit once again. But let us first continue from here. Okay.
Diamond the payment na initiate go meow. A pen WhatsApp again. Bruno fault mad.
So I'm going to repeat this step twice so that you can grasp it. So what a commit allows you to do, it allows you to pinpoint certain points to pinpoint certain points in your project. So if I come here and in the contact, I add, let me say, a paragraph, okay, and if I add a paragraph, let's say Lauren. Okay, if I add a paragraph, okay, I can make copies. I can make copies of this, like a few more copies, just to make more changes. As you can see, this has changed to M, which means this file has been modified. Now, there is another instruction I would like to introduce you to. It's called Git status. It shows you the status of your repository, okay? Which files have been, okay, let me first run it here so that you can see before we, okay. So let's say I have, try to cancel this. Okay. So Git status helps you know the status of your repository. So if I say Git status, as you can see, it says there's a new file, there are all these new files, and this file in red, it has been modified, okay? So at this point, the changes that I have made to contact.html have not been added to our staging area, okay? And basically a staging area is a point where you say, you know what, I'm interested in these changes, okay? So to tell Git that, you know what, I'm interested in these changes, I'll need to add, okay, git add, okay, git add, and then I could say contact.html, or I can say git add or git contact.html, okay, and I add that, okay, and then after that, I can say, you know what, I'm really interested in these changes, then I commit, git commit, and then I add a message. I will show you why we add a message in just a moment, okay? I can add a message that says, you know what, added paragraphs, add paragraphs. We always use the present tense for a reason I'll explain later why. So add paragraphs, okay? So if I also come to index.html, now as you can see, when I commit, all the flags on these files have gone away. So if I come to my index.html and maybe add a paragraph at this point, maybe add some text, okay? So this, by the way, this text is coming from an extension I'm using. It's called Lorem. Maybe you're wondering where this information is coming from. For those that do not know it, it's for those of you that know the web, okay, you may not be familiar with it, but there's a website called Lorem Ipsum that allows you to generate dummy text. So those days we used to visit the website and copy the text and bring it into VS Code. But right now, someone built an extension that allows you to generate text with the amount of words that you want. Okay, let's say I want a paragraph of 100 words. I'll just say Lorem 100. Okay, and it will generate for me 100 words on the fly. Okay, so maybe you're wondering where that text is coming from. So let's go back to GitHub. So at this point, I've made changes, and as you can see, index.html has been marked with an M. It means it's modified, and these three files do not have flags on them. Okay, so it means these three files have already been committed. So if I came to GitHub and I said git status, tell me the status of my repository. What files have changed? What files have been modified? What files have been deleted? Okay. Actually, let me delete a file to show you that it may a file may be deleted. Okay, let me delete this file. Okay, and then let's run git status and see. So as you can see, it tells you I'm on this branch. I'll explain that later. Okay, and then we have this file has been deleted. This one has been modified. Okay, so if I'm interested in those changes, I'll also commit those changes. You know what? I'm really interested in those changes. Maybe I can say modify index.html. I'll give it a message called modify index.html. Okay. So you've seen the process of adding and committing. At this point, I would like to show you why we write commit messages. Okay. So there's an instruction called git log. Okay. Now git log enables you to see it also shows you who made a commit and when did they make it. As you can see, there is this commit, and it was made by Martin Karugaba by this email. You remember the settings that I was telling you at first, the config settings? Now at this point they're coming, and are made on this date and at this time. Okay, so at this point I have very many files. I'll just move it to one line. Okay, you can also get a summary by adding git log one line. Okay, And at this point, I can only see one commit, not really sure why. But all right, we'll check that in just a moment. Okay. Oh, so let us commit this one first, and then we check. We run git log once again. So I can say git commit, and then you add a message. So this message, as I can, it is supposed to be a description of the changes that you have made, and always ensure that it is precise and use the present tense. Do not use the past tense and be like, oh, added this, added that. You always use the present tense. Okay. Modify index.html, and then when I hit enter, okay, no changes. Git commit punch me. All right, so let me run git status once again. So I still have, so I know some of you are wondering why I can see you have helper. There is an extension I'm using in my terminal that brings a memory of the instructions I've written before. So you may not have it, so you need to memorize these instructions by head. Okay, and at this point we have an issue. Something is not committing the way we would want it to commit. -m. Okay, I'll change the commit message right now to maybe make changes. Make changes. Okay. It runs git status instead. Let me close this terminal and open a new one. Oh my god, time is not enough side. Well, it's okay. Commit -m. Make changes. All right, we have an issue there, but allow me to go back to the slide.
You might have to stage the. You might have to add those first to the stage,
oh,
right? Git add
you're
first.
right. You're correct. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we actually have to add these to the staging area before we can commit them. Thank you very much. Git add all. So I'll add all because we have modified files and we have deleted files. Thank you very much. And then I think we are ready to commit at this point. All right. Git commit, make changes. That's great. And so when we run a git log one line, as you can see, we have two different commits, okay? And so these commits are supposed to be a description of the changes that we've made. Okay, allow me to go forward. And so making changes and committing, we've done that. We've gone through all these instructions. So at this point, we are going to branching and merging, okay? So branching allows you to work on new features or bug fixes in isolation without affecting the main code base, okay? To create a new branch and switch to it, you run this instruction, git checkout -b, meaning a new branch, and then you create it. Okay, let me explain it because the reading won't explain it very well. So let's say I was creating, I've created my navbar and I want to add another section, okay, to my website, okay? But while adding this section, I don't want these changes to be affected by, I don't want the new changes to come to the old changes right away. So what I do, I create a new branch on my repository, okay? So I'll just create a simple illustration here using an arrow, okay? Let me use this. So just create a simple illustration here. So let's say, okay, create a comment. So normally I was moving in this, let's say we're moving in this direction, okay? We're moving straight with our changes, moving forward, okay? Don't mind the red colors. So what a branch allows me to do, it allows me to come here and do something like this. Okay, we're out of the comment, but I think it will make sense in just a moment. It allows me to make a detour. Okay, so this was the way we're moving without changes. So what we're going to do is make a branch of the main code that we're working with, and this is the instruction that we use. Okay, we use okay, just a moment, git checkout. So let's say I'm making a branch and I'm going to add maybe a hero section. Okay, git branch. Okay, oh sorry, it's git checkout. Okay, so git checkout, sorry about that. Minus b, it creates us a new branch and takes us to that branch. And then the branch, I want to call it maybe add navbar. Okay, add navbar. So that is the name of my new branch. So when I click enter at this point, it is going to create a branch of my code. I wanted to do this when I'm going to show you in just a moment. So when we create a new branch, now at this point, what Git does, it creates a copy. Okay, it creates a copy of the file that I'm working on, and then on the new copy, I always make my changes. So whenever I want to bring my changes to the original code, I will bring them in whenever I'm ready. Okay, so if I make changes to index.html, I'm going to add a paragraph that says, actually, okay, let me remove this and then I'll add the h1 that says created on the new branch. Okay, so this file was created on a branch, and by the way, notice something here. Learn Git has changed to we are now on the add navbar. So whenever you initialize your Git repository, Git creates a new branch called main. Okay, so that is like the major branch. Okay, so you don't want to make changes that will break your code at that point. So if you want to make to make other changes, you want to make them on a different branch. Okay, so in this branch called add navbar, let's add something in index.html here called we're going to add a paragraph called add navbar. Add navbar. And so I want to show you that now if we choose to go back to main, the changes here, these two things h1 and p should not be here. Now let's go back. And how do we do that? We use the instruction git check out. Okay, and then the name of the branch you want to go to. Okay, let's say main. Okay, and now notice that at this point the flag -b is not there, because whenever we use that flag, it means we are creating a new branch. When you remove it, it means you're moving to a branch that is already existing. Okay, so if I say, oh, I would like to go back to main, okay, I did not commit my changes, but it's all right. So if we go back to main, I did not commit my changes in the old branch. Just a moment. Let's go back to git check out, add navbar. Okay, and created navbar. After creating this, we are going to add them to, because as you can see, they've been modified on M&M, or you can use a git status. Okay, it tells you they've been modified, and so we're going to add them to the staging area. Git add all, saying, oh, we're interested, and we are going to commit them. Okay, git commit -m. Let me say add navbar 3, just to make something different. And okay, those changes have been committed. Now we can go back to our index.html. Okay, git, the instruction is git checkout. Okay, git check out the name of your branch. Okay, let's go back to main and let's check our index.html. So you notice that the things have changed because we've gone back to the main branch. Okay, now if we decide to go back to the add navbar branch, let's go back, come to index.html. You see, so it allows you to so that is basically, that's how branches work. Okay, it allows you to make a copy of your code and work on it without even having to, you know, make multiple copies of your code in your project. So let's say if I wanted to do this without Git, okay, I would have to come here and be like, okay, just a moment, folder is not opening. Okay, I think I opened many. Okay, so if I were to do that without Git, that means I would come to index.html and be like, oh, this is some copy version this, and then I would make another copy, be like, oh, this is this copy, and then I'll make like 100 copies. But with Git branches, you can do that. Well, with Git branches, you can do that. As you can see, it is sleek. Okay, seamless. If I wanted to make another branch, I would still be like, oh, git checkout, now with a B flag. Okay, git checkout -B, and then I create a new branch. Let me just call this new branch. New branch, and so I'm now on a new branch. I can come here and make whatever changes I want. I could come to contact.html and be like, oh, I can remove all this and be like, add a h1 that says, I have contacted you. I have contacted you. Okay, and then I come to my terminal, and I'll add these files. Okay, I'll be a little fast now. I'll add these files, and then I'll commit. And the message will be add. Okay, I think I'm moving a little fast now. Let me type them slowly. I will add those files, and then I will commit those changes. And my commit message will be add contact. Okay. So as you know, we made changes to the contact.html file. So if I go to if I want to go back to my main branch, I'll say git checkout. Okay, checkout main. Okay. So switch to branch main. So if I go back to my index.html, as you can see, contact. Let's go to contact. It has paragraphs in it, but if we go back to the new branch, I think it was called new branch. Yeah, new branch. Okay, branch. Okay. Oh, I think I made a mistake somewhere. It's new branch actually. New branch, but the intention was new branch. Okay, hope you get the point. So if we go back to this new branch and we go back to our contact.html, notice that we have this. So this is now, you're getting into the power of Git at this point. And so let's go to merging. All right. Now, what if I have made changes on my new branch in the contact form, and I want these changes to come to the main branch? Okay, how do I do that? I come to my main branch. I go to the branch where I want these changes to go. Okay, git checkout main. Okay, I go to the main branch, and then as you can see in the contact.html we have paragraphs. Now I want these changes to come together. Okay, the main and the changes I made the other side. So what I do is I run git merge, git merge new branch, right? New branch. Now, by the way, I would like you to notice these points right here. These things keep changing. So I use something called oh my ZSH. It helps you add add more functionality to the terminal, maybe you might want to look into it. This name here shows you the branch that you're working on. Now, in your terminal, if you're using something like PowerShell, you may not be able to see that, but hopefully you can see it right here. Okay, so if we merge, as you can see, it has added these files. Now let's go to our contact. As you can see, the changes from the other side have come to this file. Okay, allow me to continue. So branching and merging. Wow, we're getting to a more interesting part. GitHub. Okay, we've talked about Git. Now let's talk about GitHub. Now, before I continue, I'd like to tell you that there is a lot more functionality that Git does, but at this point we can only go over the basics. Okay, let this be a starting point for you to go forward and make more research. Okay, so let's continue and let's go to GitHub. So when you go to GitHub, the first thing you need to do is to create your account. Okay, and then create a new repository, blah blah blah, and link your repository. So let me show you this in practice. So you need to go to github.com. Okay, some of you might already have now I already have an existing account. Okay, you need to go to github.com, and it has already logged me in because I already have an account. But if you don't have one, it will request you to sign in, and or if you don't have account, it will request you to sign up. Okay, so once you are at GitHub, how do you create a new repo? So how do you create a new folder? Basically, a new repository is a new folder or a new project. Okay. So how do you do that? You come to this point that says new. Okay. So at this point, we are creating a new folder where we want to keep these files, because now at this point we were working locally. Okay. But now we want to send our files to GitHub because we don't want to lose these files. Okay, so this is how you, at this point now we're creating a new folder or a new project. Okay, at this point ask me the owner, select that. Okay, Martin Karugaba, because I'm the owner. Now this username right here is the same username I used while creating my my GitHub, my Git configuration. Okay, and then repository name is the name that you want to call that folder. Okay, so you might want to say maybe it's I will call it learn Git. Okay, learn Git, and oh, that's available. You might want to add a description and all that, but at this point we will not do that, and then we'll keep it public. You can make it public or private. I'll keep it public, and I'll not add a README file. There's a reason why. I'll explain maybe later. And we don't need a Git ignore and the licenses at this point. So basically, that is what you need. Let me go back. So when you log in into your GitHub, this most probably this is the what you'll see, or you can do it from your profile. You can also do it from here. Actually, at this point, you can create a new repository from here, or you can do it from your profile. I'll show you my profile in just a moment. So let's do it from here this time. Okay. As you can see, it will take us to the same place. Even you can also do it from your profile. Let's go to the profile. Okay. Now you can also do it. Okay, repositories and new. Okay, so you can also do it from here as well. So all these are ways in which you can create a new repository or a new project on GitHub. So now, owner. Okay, let me choose Martin, and then repository name. I'll say learn Git as we had chosen before, and it says it's available. and it's public. I don't want a README file at this point because we're doing the basics, and the license, I'll leave that. And then create repository. So GitHub creates a repository for you. And at this point, it looks like this. Now, the first time you create your repository, if you've not added README file and all those things, these are the instructions you'll get. Or create a new repository on the command line, it gives you the instructions, or push an existing repository from the command line. Now, these are the instructions we are going to use, okay? Now, how do you connect your local repository to the online repository you've created with Git? You use this instruction. It is called, git remote, okay? Add origin. Please don't mind those instructions that are there. So you say git remote and then add origin, okay? Add origin, okay? And then after that, you add the link to your repository. Okay, you could copy it from the top, but I don't use. I use something called SSH. I can't talk about it at this point. Hopefully, I'm going to show you why I chose this in just a moment. But I'm going to take this repository. Okay, technically for me, this will not work for me because I use something called SSH. Other people use HTTPS. That's why they use this. And at this point, when you're just beginning, you'll have to use this. Okay. But for me, I'm going to use this because that is how my GitHub was set up. Don't worry about that. I'm going to show you in just a moment. So where those things even come from. So add origin that. Okay. So when I hit enter at this point, my local repository has been connected to my repository on GitHub. And to do all this, to do this, you need an internet connection. Okay. And so after doing all this, I will not need to do, I'll not copy the instructions. That is the only instruction I need. I will check. So since right now it's connected, I will check our Git status. Do I have all the changes that I need? So as you can see right now, it says on branch tree, nothing to commit, working tree clean. When it says working tree clean, it means all your changes now are ready to be pushed. Let's say if I added another paragraph here that says maybe paragraph, or let me use Lauren, okay? If I do that and I check Git status, it will tell me, oh, there is a file that has been modified. So what I'll do, I'll say, I'll add it to the staging area, git add all. So that dot means add all. So instead of listing the names of the files, I just say add all, it adds all the files, okay? And then I'll say git commit. And then my commit message will be add paragraph. So you want to use the present tense when you are writing your commit messages, okay? Add paragraph, okay? So, and before I do anything else, I'm going to check git status, and then I'll introduce you to another instruction called push, okay? Git push. So what git push does, it pushes your changes from your local repository to the repository that is online. When I say git push, okay, the current branch has no upstream branch. All right, it's all right. So what we're going to do, okay, let's do this. To create we're going to create an upstream branch. Now, what is an upstream branch? So we have this branch on the local repository, but we do not have it on our live repository. That is why we are going to use this instruction, git push set upstream origin main. So what this instruction does, it goes to github.com and also creates another branch called main and puts our changes in there. Okay. So we're going to do git push and set upstream. Okay. Origin, going to say main. So by the way, this right here is a short version of that instruction that I've just written. Okay. So git push set upstream origin main. Okay, so it pushes those files to GitHub. So it is sending. Okay, so just to show you the shortcut for doing all those things that we've just done, if you want to do it very fast, just copy these instructions and paste them in your terminal, hit enter, and your files will run. So let us refresh and see how our repository looks like. So as you can see, we have all our changes here. We have contact.html with all the changes, and we have index and that. And as you can see, our commit messages are here. Okay, so it shows which commit message did what. And when I come here, it shows me all the branches that I have. And unfortunately, the other branches are not here because I've not pushed them to GitHub yet. That is why you do not see them. And I was talking about SSH and HTTPS. This is it. This is the point. Okay, let me show you where this helps. Now, what if you make a Git repository, a GitHub repository, and you want a local copy of that repository? What do you do? I'm going to teach you another instruction called git clone. Okay, git clone. So what you do, you come to this point called code. Okay, you can download the zip file. Okay, or you can use the best way to do it is using a git clone, but you can download the zip file if you want. It download. Let me click it so that you can see how it works. As you can see, it downloads the zip file, or you can use HTTPS. For you, you'll be using HTTPS, but for me, I set up mine to use SSH, so I'll use that. But as a beginner, you'll be using this one. Okay, so I come here. So if I come to, okay, I'll have to open another terminal. Not sure. Okay, okay, let me actually leave that. Let me go here. I'm going to create another node here. Okay. Okay, let me create a folder actually on the desktop instead of, I'll just call it project. Okay. So I'll go to where I want this this file to be put. For example, if I want these files to be put here, that project. So let's say you've met my project on GitHub and you want a local copy. So what you do, I'm going to open this with my terminal. Open terminal. So it takes me straight to where that folder is, and then I'll run this command. Okay, git clone. Okay, now you can also run it within what you have here, but then I don't want the other files to come in here. But then I can also do it. Let me though this is not advisable, but I was just showing you that it is also possible to do it here. Or we can actually do this just to make things easier for you. Okay, we can go to the desktop and open this folder actually. Yeah, this folder, because it is an empty folder, so that I can see how this instruction works. So as you can see, at this point we have nothing in this folder. But so what I'm going to do in this folder, I want the files that are from GitHub to come in here. So I'll open my terminal, okay, any terminal that you want, and then I come to my GitHub. Okay, you can copy this link if you want, because it is the same as this HTTPS, but I use SSH, so I'll click that, and then I come to my repository, to my local folder, and then I'll say git clone, and then I paste the link I've copied the other side. So if I click, it brings me all these folders that I want. Okay, so if I went and opened, I'll just show you a simple instruction right here. So this instruction, it is saying get into learn git. Okay, let me just yeah, just to be faster. So I'm saying change directory to learn git. That's what cd is. Okay, if I go in there, and as you can see, if we open it right here, we have all the changes that we have on GitHub or in the other folder. So the other thing I'm going to show you, let's go back to the slide so that I don't lose track. collaborating with GitHub. And okay, let's go back to our folder, and then we see how we can push another. Let's see how we can add other changes and also send them to GitHub. Okay, and then after that we'll go forward. Don't worry, I'll be chap. All right. So if you came to your index.html, and so notice that at this point, after pushing, okay, remember the last time we pushed to GitHub. If I run a git status, so always run this thing whenever you want to know the status of your repository. It's saying on branch tree, on branch main, your branch is up to date with origin main. So this instruction means what I have here is the same as what is online. Nothing to commit, working strictly. Okay. So if I made changes in index.html, add a h1 that says heading, and let me say if I made more changes, let me copy this maybe 10 times, okay? And I came here, so you notice that this has been modified. I'll run git status once again to tell me, oh, a file has been modified. Are you interested in it? Oh yeah, please add it to the staging area. Git add all, okay? And would would you like to commit? Oh yeah, I'm interested. Let me commit. Let me. I'm really interested in these changes now. I'll make the commit message. Add heading, and then okay, that's all. And then after committing, oh, I think now I'd like to push them to GitHub. Then you run a git push. Okay, because now we won't need set upstream at this point because our branch is already there. Okay, so when we push, these changes will go to GitHub. So once we go to GitHub, where is GitHub? Where is our repository? Okay, so once we refresh this, let's go to inside index.html. So you can see the headings that we've just added. Okay, so that is how you make changes and push them to GitHub. Now, let me go back to the slides in just a moment. Okay, we've talked about that. Now, the collaborating part about GitHub, if you wanted to work with someone else, let me say I wanted to invite Precious to come and collaborate on my repository. Okay, I would come to my settings. Okay, and then I'll come to collaborators. Okay, so I'll have to sign in right here. Okay, and then I can add people. Okay, so once I add you, for example, let's say if it is Precious, he will have to give me either his email address or his GitHub username. So once I add this person gets an email that I have invited him. So he will be able to push changes to this file. So someone who does not have access to your repository, who has not been invited, cannot push changes to that repository. So he has to be invited as a collaborator. Okay. So the other thing I'd like to talk about here, we've seen the basic settings.
Martin, you have a question on the forum.
Okay, let me check. Oh, sorry for that loop. Okay, we will email it. Okay, please, what is the difference between, oh, that is wonderful. That is a nice question. What the difference between cloning and forking a repository? Okay, so let's say, okay, I wasn't supposed to bring you here yet. So let's say I've made a GitHub repository right here. Okay, and then I'm interested in it. Okay, so what I'm going to do, so forking allows me to create an online copy of a repository. Okay, so this folder is called apostrophe, as you can see, and it has very many branches on it. So you remember the version things I was talking about, version 3 point whatever, all these branch names are named here. So if I were interested in this repository, so what I would do is to click fork this repository. So what it does, okay, it gives me an online copy of this repository. I can even give it my name. I can say apostrophe Martin's copy. Martin's copy. Okay. So what I'm doing right now is I'm making a copy. Okay, so I'll say create fork. So as you can see right now, I have my copy. Now, why would you need to fork a repository? Okay. Now, at this point, the way this repository, let's say if I wanted to contribute this repository, this was supposed to be the last part I was talking about, but let's say, because this is an open source repository, if I wanted to do things to it, there are permissions, there are things, the permissions I have to get before I do all that. But if I wanted to play around with this repository the way I wanted, okay, so I fork this repository. So at this point, I actually own this, and I can do with it whatever I want. Okay, I can delete, so once you fork it, of course, you need to clone it. This might take years to clone it, but let me try cloning it. So if I need a local copy, I'll come to my GitHub. So I'll create a folder here, and let me call it new fork, and then I'll open it with okay, let's go to here, KO, and so I'll open this folder. All right, okay, let me open it here. Yeah. Okay, and then I'll go into my terminal, and okay, let me close this. It's not what I want. I want this one. Okay, try again. Okay, I don't know what's happening, but okay, let me use this. So I'll come to my terminal here, and I will say git clone, and then I'll clone this repository right here. Okay, I'm using SSH, but you might want to use HTTPS when you're just beginning. Okay, because setting up SSH is a whole nother process. So I'll clone this repository. So now I'm going from, let me go back in just a second. As it is cloning, okay, I know it may take a while because it's a huge repo. So what I did, I went to the original repo, okay, as you can see, this repo is called apostrophe, okay, as apostrophe, and this one is the owner / apostrophe. But this one, you can see it says Martin Karugava apostrophe Martin's copy. And as you can see, it says forked from this point. So with this repository here, I do not have the right. I do not have right to just push or pull or do whatever I want with it. I'll just show you in just a moment. But with this one, I can do whatever I want. I can delete whatever file I want. I can push it. I can even push to any branch that I choose to. Okay, because right now it belongs to me. Okay, so let me go back to VS Code, and as you can see, it will take a while because it's a huge folder. And here we are. So I can let me see the name. It's a huge folder. So this is the folder. I could even go to the main branch, and where should I go? Let me go to maybe defaults.js and add something called, I'll just add a console. I'll just add something crazy just to show you that I can do whatever I want. And so the dog, this is my copy. I'll do what I want with it. Okay, I'll do what I want with it. Okay, that will not go far. Let me just add 3 dots. Okay, and then we'll go back to the terminal, and then I'll push to the main branch. Okay, so git add. We've gone through this. Add to the staging area. Okay, not a git repository. Wow. So I have to cd into. I have to open this folder, and it is called apostrophe. So this error here is being caused by, as you can see, it says I'm in this folder new fork, but I'm not in this folder apostrophe Martin's copy. That's why it says it is not a Git repository. It means it has not been this, it means, okay, this folder here, new fork, it has not been initialized as a Git repository. So I have to get into this to run Git commands. So the commands I was running were in this folder, but this folder is not a Git repository. You get? Okay, so that's what I'm trying to do right here. So I'll actually copy this from here and then go to my terminal. I don't want to rename it. I just want to copy the name, and then I will change the directory to that. Okay, so right now, as you can see, I'm inside that folder. I just use my terminal. So it's the same way you'd use to click. So git add all. It adds to the staging area, and I'm on the, notice I'm on the main branch. Git commit. I'll just say made my changes. My commit message will be made. I made my changes. I don't care. Okay, I made my changes. I'm the boss. Okay, of this repository at this point. And then let me try pushing. So as you can see, I can even push to the main branch. Now, this is a different case. It's a, now if I try the same thing with this, it would not happen. Why? This is now contributing to open source. That is how it comes in. But allow me to go back to my slide so that I don't lose track of where I'm supposed to be. All right, I think we are where I wanted to be. So we've gone to creating a README and other files. So in any GitHub repository that you're creating, you want to add a README file. You can contact me maybe later after the call. I could send you a README template, but let me show you what a README file is and the reasons why you want it. So if you come to this repository right here, if you scroll down, you see apostrophe da 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 da. Now all this information is part of the README file, okay? readme.md. So if I have my local copy right here, I'll just open our folder that we're working with. Okay, and so notice there is no README file right here. But then if we let's go to our folder on GitHub, it says our repository. Okay, so allow me to go to my profile where I'll find my repositories. And we'll talk a little bit about your GitHub profile in just a moment. Okay, learn Git. Okay, so notice at this point we don't have a README file, and GitHub itself is saying you help people interested in this repository understand your project by adding a README file. So these are like GitHub best practices. Okay, it is not required, but it is important for you. It is crucial for you to have a README file. So we are going to add a README file in our GitHub in our local repository, and then we'll send it. So we'll add a README file. Normally it's convention, okay, to have it in capital letters, readme.md, and then in here, so this is a markdown file, so you'll be writing markdown. So I'll just put a heading. So I won't be talking about markdown at this point, but this is how you'd write a heading in markdown, like a H1 in HTML. So you can say learn Git. Okay, learn Git, and then I can add a paragraph, maybe like this in this repo. Students who are learning Git. Okay, students who are learning Git and GitHub. Okay, so you can write as much as you want. There is a more professional way of doing it. I can share with you the template maybe later. there are repositories I wouldn't want to open at this point because there will be too much. It may be overwhelming for some of you. Maybe for some of you, you may be okay with it, but others may feel overwhelmed. So I'll just keep it at this point, just to show you what a README does. Okay, so let's go back to we'll Git status. So as you can see, you want to always run a Git status, know the status of your repo. So we've added a README file and it is untracked. So I will add it to the staging area, git add all. I can even say add README MD, but I'll say git add all. Okay, and then I will commit, git commit -m, add my message. Then I can say add my commit message is add README file. So those are that is the description of the changes that I've made, and then I'll do a git push. Okay, I'll push those changes to GitHub. Okay, push those changes to GitHub. So when we go to GitHub and we refresh, notice that we have a readme.md file and we have something here called learn git. Okay, so this is all made because of, so this is the basic version of your readme file. It talks about your repository and it is a must-have for any repository that you have. You want to add it. Okay, and yeah, basically that's it. I think the next thing I would like to talk about, unless you have a question, next thing I would like to talk about is pull requests issues and then contributing to open source. And just like I shared that, okay, there's a lot to GitHub, but I'll be showing you some of the key features that you'll need next time you're working with your friend, okay, or working with someone that is distant from you, sharing your stuff like GitHub. So what is, I'll first talk about pull requests. So what is a pull request? So a pull request, let's say that, okay, I'll actually show you that by actually pushing changes on another branch, okay? So let's say I'm on a branch called, I'm going to, oh, it's supposed to be Git. So for this instruction is supposed to list for me all the branches that are available, okay, Git branch. So I'm going to check out into Git checkout, and then I will say call new branch, right? New branch. Just a moment. Okay, just a moment. Someone is at the door.
Okay, I think Martin stepped out for a minute though. So, but okay, he's back.
All right. You wanted to say something? Oh,
No. You can go on. You can go on.
okay. So I see that Nilanjin has shared some, yeah, forking creates your own copy of a repository in a remote location. All right. So now, allow me to talk about pull requests. So I was explaining how pull requests work. So let's say working on a certain branch. So most times when you'll be contributing to a project that is not your own, or even your own project, because I even use branches on my own projects, and just a moment. So so as you begin contributing to projects that are not your own, or even projects that are your own, you'll want to separate your code in branches, okay? Because the first thing you do when you clone a project that is, let me say you're contributing to open source, okay? You want to clone the project first. So what you do, you create the branch and give it the name of the feature you want to create, okay? So we are on this branch, and let's make our changes. Let's even add a new file called new file dot html. Okay, so this is a new so this is a new file, okay, and let me make it a h1. This is a new file, and I'll create like 3 paragraphs right here. Let me say lorem 20. Okay. So as I shared, this is an extension that helps me generate dummy text, okay? So I'll make like 3 paragraphs, and then I'll come to my ZSH on my new branch. As you can see, this file is not untracked. Anytime you make changes, you want them to be tracked, right? So I'll say git, okay. I always like running a git status before I do anything, because it shows me the status of my repository, okay? And then it will tell me which instruction to run next. So right now the status tells me we have a new file that is untracked. So what I'll do, I'll add it to the staging area, okay? Git add all, and then I'll be like, oh, I'm really interested in the changes. I'll commit my changes, and then so just remember the big picture. We're trying to learn how pull requests work. Git commit -m, and then I'll say added a new, okay, add a new feature. Add a new feature. Okay, I've committed my changes, and now I'm going to push the changes of my new branch to GitHub. Notice what happens now. Git, I'll do since I've committed. To check if there is anything that has to be committed, you can always run a git status. It says, oh, on branch, on nothing to commit, right? So that means I'm ready to push. Run a git push. So push says, send these changes to GitHub, okay? So I'll run a git push. Now, notice we have an error. It says the current branch, this has no upstream branch. It means that this branch is on this local repository, but it is not online. So run git push set upstream that to make it available outside. So the first time you're pushing code on a new branch, you'll always need to run set upstream. Okay, you'll always add a set upstream. Okay, set upstream, or the shortcut would be -u. Okay, so -u, you can say origin new new branch. Okay, it was supposed to be new branch, of course. So we are saying push these files to GitHub, but once you go there, also create a new branch called new branch and put those changes in there. Okay, so these changes will go to GitHub, but they will not mix with the changes on the main branch. Okay, so let's go to our GitHub. And okay, where are we? GitHub. All right, so let me refresh. And so if you come and check here, so this drop down list will always tell you you have very many branches. So as you can see, it says, oh, we have a new branch that has been added and recent pushes less than a minute ago. So compare and pull request. So what you do, now you can click here, or if you don't have this notification, just come to pull requests. And so here you want to say, I want to create a new pull request. Okay, So in the new pull request, maybe which branch has the changes? This is the branch. This is where you want to select that branch. That is my new branch, okay? And where do I want these changes to go? I want them to go to the main branch. You see where that arrow is pointing? So when you're making a pull request, this point is very important. If you don't do it correctly, your pull request may be rejected, and you may have to write it once again to make the pull request. So basically a pull request, what you're saying is you're requesting someone to pull your changes in. Okay? Pull request. You're saying, oh, can you please bring these changes into main or into whatever branch, okay, that you've requested in here. So when I say create pull request, it will ask me for a title, add a new feature. I might want to, so here you use Markdown, you can say you can use any heading. So in here you want to write a description of the changes that you have made. So I can say, you can write anything that you want here. Maybe you can say, maybe added a new file. Added a new file. Okay, here you could use the past tense if you wanted, and you have to put a title. Without a title, you see this button goes inactive. So your pull request must have a title, and the title, it must have the title of the features. Okay, the heading. You can have as many words and letters as you want in here. So once I say create pull request, so what I'm showing you here is how you contribute to projects that do not belong to you. Okay, let's say you're contributing to open source. You've met an issue and you worked on that issue. I'm going to show you that also in a moment. You have to make a pull request, and to know which branch to pull to pull request to, I will also show you how that one is done in a moment. So when you make a pull request, the person that you have assigned as a reviewer will come and say, maybe, and check which files have changed. So you remember when I said that you can make code reviews on GitHub? So I'll come here and be like, oh, you made these changes, added these files, and removed this. You can, then if this person verifies that your changes are okay, he will merge. If not, you could even add a comment here that says, oh, there was an issue here, please fix it. I can say, if I do not want to approve the files that you've made, I can say, oh, please fix this issue. And I comment, start a review. Okay, so I'm actually doing a code review at this point. So if you come to the conversation right here, you'll notice that this person has you have an issue right here. So I've pointed out an issue. So I won't go deep into the code reviews and all that. But basically, so I'm showing you the power that GitHub does, that GitHub has. It has a lot of functionality within it. So if I come and review your changes and I notice that, oh, I think I like the changes that you've made. So what I do, I merge these changes. You see, merge pull request, and it says no conflicts. So this is a merge conflicts. We won't talk about it right now. Maybe you'll beat it in the future. So what I do when I merge and I confirm, the changes from the other branch are merged into the main branch if I notice that there are no issues. Okay. So right now, if we go to our local copy and we check our main branch, git checkout, or check out to the main branch. Okay, just a moment, please. Just one moment. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. So we've talked about pull. We're talking about pull requests and okay. So our pull request was merged. So that is how to professionally do it. Okay. That is the best way of merging new changes with old changes when you're using Git and GitHub. It is the professional way. And it is the way you want to do it even with your projects. As I told you, even when I'm building my projects, I make very many branches. I don't want a certain branch to break the other branch that has that is okay, because sometimes just a single error may break the whole project and you have to fix it. You guys are you do some coding, right? So you know that these things happen. Okay, so you don't want to break what is on your main branch. You want it to be protected. Okay, that is why we use branches, and that is why we make pull requests. So if I went and made more changes right here and maybe added something here and then push to GitHub, if I also want to merge those changes, I still have to come here and make a new pull request. Okay. All right. So that is the basics of. Now, if you have any question about pull requests, feel free to send it via the chat and I'll be able to answer it. So the other thing I would like to talk about is issues. Okay. What is an issue? Now in GitHub, an issue in on GitHub is like an issue in real life. It is an issue with your code. Okay, so when your code has issues, or when users or other developers find issues with your code, this is how they communicate to you. They come here. Okay, for example, if I noticed that maybe contact is missing something, I can be like, oh, you know what, contact.html has this, it is missing the phone number, or there's an error with this, there's an error with something. So this is how I communicate to the developer of this app, okay, that there was an issue. I come to issues and then I create a new issue. Okay, so I'll give it a title, maybe I can say contact. I can give it a title. You want it to be straightforward. Contact page is missing email address. Now this is the issue I've found. You may find any issue in any file. It is missing email address, or maybe there's something missing in the documentation. Okay, you can do that. By the way, we talked about documentation, right? So having a good README file is actually part of documentation. And as you can see, for example, this repository right here, it has this README file. That is a documentation part of GitHub. Okay, so this README helps you go through actually it helps you understand what the repository is about. And if you'd like to contribute, there are steps to guide you. Okay, we'll talk about that in just a moment. So let's go back to creating issues. So I can say maybe I noticed that you describe whatever issue that you found. Okay, I noticed that the phone number and email is missing, right? So you write whatever you want. Make sure that the developer will understand, and also be very polite. Okay, you don't want to be very you want to be direct but very polite, using things like kindly do this, or I suggest this and that. Okay, be you want your message to come through, but not, you want to be very respectful. Okay, because when you're on GitHub, you're in a community and you're building your portfolio and also building your name, okay, as a developer. Okay, you don't want to be marked as someone that does not communicate professionally. So you want to be very professional in your communication. And once you do that, you can preview, make it maybe H2. When I add 2 hashes, it gives me H2 with Markdown. Okay, so when I'm writing it here, I'm using Markdown. So you can even add images. So if I had an image and maybe you saw the problem and you want to take a screenshot. Okay, let me go to my, not sure. Oh no, I don't want to go there. But you can even add email. Okay, let's download it. Let me go to my downloads. Okay. You could even add an image. I'm going to add the same. This is crazy, but I'm just showing you that what you can do with GitHub. Okay. You see, you can even add it. Now, this image may be a screenshot. Okay, you may come to this page and maybe screenshot something, or to that website and screenshot something, because you want your issue to be very descriptive. Okay, so you screenshot something, and then once you're done, you submit new issue. Okay. So once you're done with that, you can submit your issue. I'll have to get rid of this later, but yeah, basically that's it. So when the developer comes, as you can see, it says, oh, there are issues here. So when you come to your repository, you'll be, oh, issues have been noticed, and you'll be able to fix them one by one. And actually, this is how you start contributing to open source. You go to a repository that you are interested in. Okay, now we've actually gone to contributing to open source. First of all, what is open source? These are projects where, because normally the opposite is closed source, where code of a certain project is not public. But for something, let's say Android is open source. Android operating system that runs Android phones. React is open source. I'm sure Next.js is also open source. And there are very many other projects. But now, those are huge projects. Now, when you've just begun as a developer, you don't want to be overwhelmed. You want to start small, right? So that is why I opened this website. It's called Good First Issue. It shows the it's directed at beginners. Okay, if you want to be a beginner contributing to open source, this this is the place you want to start from. Okay, so you come here, you select your programming language. Okay, if you're doing JavaScript, you select JavaScript, Go. Okay, it will bring issues with Go. So I'll select JavaScript because I use JavaScript, but feel free to select the programming language you want. And you'll come here and read through the project and see the one that you're interested in. And as you can see, it has the number of issues that have been pointed out. Okay, so let's say I'm interested in this. I'll just click on it. Takes me to the repo. And to see how I can contribute, okay, and as you can see, there is a README file, right? To see the issues that are there, so issues are things that need to be fixed in that repository. So I'll come to this repository and go, oh, this is the issue. All right, that is great. And so for example, I see a typo in community blog. As you can see, this is an issue. And as you can see, it is descriptive. There are screenshots. Okay, there are even replies. As you can see, this one has said, I would like to fix it. Oh, please point out the typos in the description. You see, there are conversations within these issues. Okay, so if you notice that you're interested in fixing a certain issue, this is how you contribute to open source. You fix issues with people's websites. Maybe not website, but people's projects. Okay, and those projects must be open source. That means they allow people to contribute. People from anywhere. It is open source. Anyone can contribute. So as you can see, so if you want to fix this typo, you're interested, what you do, you first come to the code and notice that there are pull requests here. Okay, people have already made their contributions and they've made pull requests. So they've submitted these pull requests for review. The owner of the repository will review this. As you can see, there is also a pull request description, screenshots, comments, and all that. So the owner of the project will come and see the files changed. If he, as you can see, it shows the red has been removed and green are the lines that have been added. And if he wants to add comments, so this is how you do code reviews on GitHub. Okay, I'll not go deeper into that because it's for the start you don't need it at this point. You do need it, but for today, maybe for some other day. So once this pull request is approved, this person will merge. And notice that I don't have the permission to merge. So you will not have permission to merge once you make a pull request. And as you can see, changes have been requested. So cancel this. I didn't want it to go there. So when this person requests a change, okay, okay, scroll up. So when this person comes to files change, this person will be able to mark changes. And once he makes an approving request, he will select approve here and comment. It will be approved. Okay. If it has not been approved yet, your code will not be merged until those changes have been approved. So you might want to start here. And as you can see, it is HTML, CSS. So pick whatever you feel. Number one, it should be something you're interested in. That is, if you're interested in contributing to open source, it should be something that you're interested in and something you feel like you can do. Okay. If you feel like writing code, contributing to a project with code is hard, you can start with writing documentation. There are people who start with writing documentation. Okay. So you do not have to write code. Okay. So you might want to start with writing documentation, or you can start with a project of your own or a project of a friend. I've met people on X, formerly known as Twitter. But it's a very good place to network for developers. You'll meet people that will support you, most especially if you're beginning. And I'll mention some names that you might want to follow. You'll meet people. Many of you, if you're on Twitter, you may know this lady. This girl. She's called, I think, Dancing Web Dev. I've met a few developers that are brand new, but they make projects and then they invite contributors. Very simple projects. So if this seems to be too much, because this may be overwhelming as a beginner, network on Twitter or X, okay? Network on Twitter, and then find these people. I'll mention some of these names. Maybe I'll share them not today, but Dancing Web Dev, there's another girl called Emmy, and I'll share their names later. So these people have smaller projects that they build, and then they invite people to contribute. So it does not have to be this. And you can start with very small projects. And the more you contribute to open source, number one, you'll build your skill using Git and GitHub professionally. Number two, you'll get known, okay? You're widening your network, okay? And the more you contribute, you're going to learn, okay? You're going to learn, because as you contribute to open source, you're going to be reading other people's code, seeing how other people approach stuff, how people who are more professional than you approach stuff, how they do their folder structure, how they do, as you can see, files are not just thrown anywhere. There is a specific folder structure, how pull requests are made. You learn code reviews, how to respond to code reviews, okay? So these are the benefits that you're going to get from contributing to open source. And so by that, follow Dancing Web Dev, and hopefully I can find the other names. Maybe I'll share them with Precious. The names that I'll share with you that you can follow. The other thing, so this is not part of Git and GitHub, but these are things that will help you as a developer to grow. Network. Okay, take every opportunity to network, connect with people. It is going to help you grow, and it will help you actually find a job easier. You will also grow very fast, because sometimes when we work alone, okay, we do not know what we don't know. But when you get a chance to work with other people, you're going to learn very many things, okay? And by the way, be very open to learning, okay? Be a knowledge magnet, okay? Be attracted to gaining knowledge, okay? Because as a developer, when you are, actually when you decide to become a developer, you've decided to become a long life learner, okay? Be very open to knowledge. And what I have shared with you about Git and GitHub today is just the beginning. Let this be a starting point. Go to YouTube, go find articles, go to wherever you can and find more information about Git and GitHub, okay? And start working with GitHub as soon, start working with Git and GitHub as soon as possible. You want to build your skill, okay? Because yeah, you want to have a GitHub profile. Let me actually take you to my profile in just a moment. So why is this profile important? Employers, okay? At this point, when you are applying to any job, they will ask you for your GitHub profile, right? So you want to have a GitHub profile, and hopefully, Precious, please contact me. I could share with you guys a link where you can find templates of how to make your GitHub profile look better. Add a README to your own project. So this is my GitHub profile. You want to have a GitHub profile. It is very important for every developer because you'll be asked to have one in every job interview that you'll be having. Okay, I'm probably going off course, but so the other thing you need, it shows your contributions. Okay, when you contributed and when you did not. Okay, so there is a lot to share with you guys, but our time I think has run out. And if you have any questions or Precious, if there is anything you feel I've not talked about and you want me to talk about it, please feel free to ask, and then I'll talk about it.
Thank you, Martin.
You're welcome.
You actually talked about everything, though I am seeing some hands, so I believe those hands are people that have questions, right?
Okay.
So we'll be taking just two because I'm seeing just two hands for now. So we'll be taking Benjamin first, and then we'll take Linda after Benjamin. So Benjamin, you can go on and ask your question.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good evening. My name is Benjamin from Nigeria.
Yes, please.
A front-end developer. So
Good.
I have two questions. One is recently I collaborated with a friend on a project. So what the issue is, I set something that will enable only me to merge a pull request. But when he pushed to his own branch, he was able to merge everything together. So I was wondering, is there any other way to set it in such a way that I, as the administrator, will be able to merge the branch, only me? And second question is this: I didn't talk about Git conflict, something like that. And though I've not encountered any Git conflict, but I heard that it's so disastrous when you encounter one. So I want to know the key issues that causes Git merge conflict or something like that, and what are the ways to avoid it. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. That's a good question. So the first thing you talked about was to prevent someone from merging his own code, right? So the way you do that would be you would okay. Okay, you would come to settings. Okay, going to our branch settings. Oh, actually, it is there. It is even presented to you. We don't need. You see, it says your main branch isn't protected. Protect this branch from force pushing or deletion or require status checks before merging. Okay, so what you do, oh, I'm not sharing my screen, sorry. Let me share my screen. I thought I was sharing. So let me share my entire screen. Okay, can you guys see my screen? All right, that's great. Where were we? Yes, at the one, not the one. Okay, so you see, normally when you create a new folder, okay, and your main branch is not protected, you'll see something like this. Your main branch isn't protected. Protect this branch from force pushing or deletion or require status checks before merging. So when you click this, it takes you to a place where you can set protections from your for your branches. For example, you can say, excuse me, require a pull request before merging. So anytime someone makes a pull request, anytime someone wants to merge to that code, it will have to be a pull. It will have to be through a pull request. Then it says you can require status checks to pass, require conversation. You can put all these locks that you want. You can lock the branch. Okay. Do not allow bypassing the above settings. You can't bypass them. Someone cannot do a force push. Okay. So you can say require approval. So I'm going to show you how that works in just a moment. So allow force pushes. No. You don't want that. Allow deletions. Nope. So when I click, okay. So when I say create, I'll show you what happens when someone creates a pull request. So if someone comes and creates a pull request, this makes a pull request. Compare main maybe to, we've already run out of time, but I don't think I can. I wanted to push a new branch to.
Yeah, I think.
So there isn't anything to compare. I would have to push something from, okay, let me push something here. Am I in the new branch? Let me see. Okay, let me check out to new branch. Okay, I want to show you how those permissions work. So we'll go to a new file. I'll just make copies of this. Then I'll do it in one line. Git add all. So this is how you run a one-liner in Git. You can okay. You can put ampersands in between them, and you add all those instructions on one line. So I've added, committed, and pushed to GitHub. Since we've run out of time, that's why I did that. So let's go back to the code. Now we're going to make a pull request. Chop. Okay, pull request, new pull request. Pair main to new branch. And so as you can see, we've made some changes, right? And it's saying it is able to merge. So if I say blah, 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 create a pull request. So you see, it says review required. Merging is blocked. You get, so someone cannot just merge himself like that. So, and it has to be reviewed and it has to have an approving review. So once someone reviews and it's okay, you have to give an approving review, approve, okay? Okay, I have to write something in here. Approved, okay, submit. Oh, I'm the one submitting the pull request, so I can't approve myself. Like, but then once you receive this pull request, you'll have to give an approving review before this thing is merged. Okay, so I was the one creating the PR, so I can't. Someone else has to review and then approve me. You get. But then this is what happens when you add protections to your main branch. Hopefully, I've answered the question. Then about merge conflicts, I don't think we have time right now. So. But then, and they're not very disastrous. Git has been designed to help you run through merge conflicts. Precious, do you think do we still have time to run through that?
No, we don't. We don't have time at all because
our time has
ended by
already
8 o'clock,
gone.
and this was supposed to have ended like an hour ago. So, but just so you know, I think the issue that you already have with your friend is already a conflict. So I don't think you need to like think of it as something very special. So if most times conflicts can easily be explained as, when you want to achieve a particular thing using GitHub and then you are not able to achieve that, or maybe someone pushes a code that is behind, how do I say it, like a depreciated code. That is why it's always advisable before you make any new change, before you push anything to the main branch, you always like pull from that branch so you get the current changes before you push your own code, right? Just so that you don't use your own code. Maybe you pulled yesterday, but then an update have been made today. You are now pushing the code from yesterday to the branch. It can cause conflict. That's what mostly cause conflict. But then let's take other questions. So we are going to be very fast about these questions because we have really like spent a lot of time here. So Linda, you are next. Hi Linda.
Hello, please. I'm sorry. Sorry, I didn't join on time. So I couldn't start from the beginning of the class. Is there a way I can access this lesson and learn from the beginning?
Yes, actually
That's
you
all.
will. We will be okay. So I'm going to send the mail. Once we upload it to YouTube, I will send the mail. So you're going to get, if you registered for this class, you're going to get a mail. But then meanwhile, it's also advisable that you join the Tublian community, because once we have it on YouTube, we are also going to post it on our community channel. So just look at the chat box. I'm dropping the link to the community.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So, Victor, okay, I'm assuming your questions have been answered, right? All right. So we go to, so Dennis, you can unmute your mic and ask. Yeah, the last person, last questions will be taken, and then I'll be showing you something very, very important. So just stick around for like the next 3 to 5 minutes. I'll be showing you guys, an important tool that you can use to start practicing what Martin have already taught us this evening. All right. So Dennis. Hi, Ayadeji, Dennis. Okay, so maybe David hand was a mistake. All right, so guys, I want to show us Tublian, right? So during the course, Martin explained how we can, how to contribute to open source and how it is important that you contribute to open source. And one of the most difficult part of contributing to open source is knowing where to start, what to. So let's say you already know how to code in HTML and CSS. Where do I see projects that I can contribute to, right? So, and then at the beginning of this session, Nilanjan introduced, talked about Tublian, right? And I'm just here to show you how it works. So this is the Tublian platform. Anybody here with a GitHub account can access Tublian. All you need to do is just to go to tublian.com and then you have access to Tublian. So when you register on Tublian, right, Tublian aggregates all your GitHub activities and it uses that to give you personalized access to a whole lot of things, like a whole lot of things. For example, I am on my dashboard and this is my street cred. So it has taken all my activities, aggregated it together, and then it has given me these points of 19.23. And that is what my street cred score is as of today, 19.23. And then when I carry out my activities, when I write my code and I push my code to GitHub, when I read articles from Tublian blog, when I do all my developer activities, Tublian takes these things together and then it uses it to give me a score. Now, this score I can use this score to like do a whole lot of things. Actually, I use this score personally for myself to keep track of how I've been doing as a developer every week, right? This score can also be presented to recruiters and say, oh, I'm looking for a job, and then this is what my street threat score looks like. And then when you give the recruiters access to your Tublian profile, they can be able to see all your activities. Now, it is not just the code that you've written that are on GitHub, that you've posted on GitHub, right? It's going to show them even the articles that you've read, the people that you've connected with, the kind of codes that you've written. So it is way beyond that. It is way beyond just code. That is what we are building on GitHub. So if you look around here, you can see that I tweeted that I tweeted, I think it was an article. I tweeted about mobile testing, right? And then even the tweets that I made on Twitter, it counts because it is also a part of developer. Because this is an article I read and I tweeted about that article, right? It is part of my developer activities. I acquired knowledge by reading that article, and then it comes on my Tublian profile and it aggregates. Now, it doesn't just end there. The part that I want to show us, because we just finished learning about Git and GitHub, is the part where you use Git Tublian to contribute to open source. So this is my project page on tublian.com, right? Now, if you come down here, I am seeing projects that are tailored to me. So based on the kind of code that I've written on GitHub, I've worked with JavaScript, I've worked with Python, I've worked with HTML, CSS, I've worked with React. Tublian is giving me open source projects that I can contribute to based on my skill level. So I don't even have to worry my head, where do I get projects, where do I do this? And then you can see this project, the activities on it is low, only 2 pull requests per week, and then but the health is good, is something I can contribute to. So I can go through and I can look at, okay, this looks like a good project, right? It says responsively -org. I can decide to open this project, and then when I open this project, Tublian uses Copilot, which is artificial intelligence, to show me how to contribute to this particular project. So these are issues. I can remember Martin talked about issues while we were, during the session, he talked about issues. So these are issues that are on this particular project. So if you look at this issue, it says program window goes on with 100% when refreshing page, and it was created 5 days ago, and it is a bug, so it needs to be fixed. So I can decide to pick these particular issues, for example, right? When I pick this particular issue, Tublian is going to show me steps using Copilot to show me steps. So are you seeing how to fix these particular issues? So, and then we are talking about open source and how open source is very important and how we all need to start contributing to open source. And this particular tool is it makes it very simple, seamless for you to contribute to open source. And that's why personally for me, I'm a big fan of Tublian, right? It is an amazing tool that you can use to do a whole lot of things. It didn't end there. You can also connect with other developers. So we have whole lot of people that you can pair with. You can just give them a chat, and you can even come to the community and chat them up, and you can work with them, ask them questions, do pair programming with them, just in order to be able to get your to make sure that your pull request is merged, right? So that is just one of the so many things that Tublian can help you do. And then most importantly, because I know a lot of you are looking for job, looking for how to apply for developer jobs, we also have something we call job copilot. So when you come to the copilot page, you see jobs. Currently, what we do is that we give you jobs that are available in your area, right? So it loads. I'm currently in Lagos, Nigeria, and then it loads job for me. So if you're in Nigeria too, or if you're in Lagos, if you open, you're also going to see some of these companies. These are the companies that are hiring currently now in Lagos. These ones are in Lagos, Nigeria, right? So I can decide to apply for any of these jobs. Now, this is the amazing thing. This is where, So when I get these jobs and I do explore with Copilot, what happens is that Copilot gives me everything I need to apply for this particular job, right? Everything I need to apply for this particular job. it tells me if I'm matched for this job. You can see clearly that I'm not matched for this job simply because the job is a senior software engineer role, and maybe I'm not just not a senior yet, right? So are you seeing? It gives me company info. It gives me, it crafts a message that I can send to the DM of, the CEO, LinkedIn DM. It gives me a cover letter for my application. It comes down here, and I can even have, like, what is it called? Interview questions. So, for example, what are the key responsibilities of a senior Java software engineer at Pay Asa Africa Limited? I answer the question. I can answer the question here. I can also generate an answer for that particular question. Now, and it helps me to, prepare even for the interview. So you see, designing, coding, testing high quality software solutions. It just helps me prepare for the interview. This is like one of the tools out there that is doing something like this for you. All right. So when you come down here also, it gives you list of open source projects that you can just contribute to, just to gain the experience. So let's say you are looking for a senior role in the future sometime, right? You can come here and start contributing to some of these projects just to prepare yourself so that next time you will be able to match better for the job, right? So I think you all should check this out. It is an amazing tool. And then I really believe that, I don't know, I think every developer should really, like, have this tool, because it's very, very important that they have it. And then one last thing that I want to talk about is that, okay, next month we are going to be here. We are going to have another session. I am hoping we pull, the person we want to pull is someone that is going to, help us, understand the particular type of projects that we want to build in order to get a job as a developer, right? So we are looking at doing something like that. I hope he will be able to get him. But if we don't get him, definitely we are going to have someone else here to, um, to help tell us another part of. So just follow us on social media, join our community. I also posted the community link on the chat box. So on the chat box, message box. So join our community so that you'll be able to be part of these things that we are doing. Also in our community, from next week, we are going to start what we call community call, where you get to come and showcase, the things that you've built. So let's say even if it is just, people say that every developer at a point in their career must have built a to-do list. So come and show us your to-do list that you've built, right? We'll celebrate you. So we want to create a community where people come to show off what they're building. That's the kind of thing we're trying to do in our community. So for now, Tublian is for free for now. Yeah, maybe in the future we'll start taking money from. But anyways, for now, everything we are doing is for free. So you guys should really be part of this. All right. So because we spent like a whole, we are this. It's getting to 3 hours now, but I guess it's because of the, you know, because of the kind of value that Martin was trying to share with us. And meanwhile, I would like to get your feedback. So please, if you really got something from this call, I would like you to use like the emoji, give me the thumbs up, or you give me the celebration. I would like to see it. Like, just give me thumbs up or anything. If you get value from, So thank you, Omar. I'm seeing you. Thank you. All right. So, what is the only Omar that got value out of this session? Ayodeji, Victor. Thank you, guys. All right. I am really happy that you guys turned up. Blessing, Benjamin. Thank you. All right. So I'm happy that you guys got something out of the session. And then this is where we'll be calling it a day. No, actually, you don't have to install Tublian. All you need to do is to go to www.tublian.com. All right, so just go to www.tublian.com to start using. You just need to create an account with your GitHub. Just click login, and then it doesn't even take you time for you to start using it. We even have like a process for you to make your first contribution, because of course you guys know the first one is always the hardest. So once you make your first contribution, others are smooth, right? So we have like a way to make your first contribution. Also in the community, I will be getting the slide from Martin, just so for those that will be in the community, we'll be dropping the slide in the community on Discord. So if you're on Discord, you'll also be getting the slide. All right, thank you everyone for coming out. I don't want us to, it's really late for me here in Nigeria. It is 9:28 p.m. and I really would like to run. All right, so thank you very much for those that showed up. I'm really happy to have you. Thank you very much. Hi Neil, are you still on the call?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, thanks. I'll stop recording. Thanks, Precious.
Okay.
Take care.
Do you want
Bye.
to say anything before we end?
No, all good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you, Martin. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
All
Martin.
right.
Bye.